team notices things that worry them every day. But many of those concerns never get recorded. This usually is not because staff do not care or because they lack training. More often, there are barriers in the way. Reporting can feel harder, slower, or more uncertain than it should. This matters because in safeguarding, small pieces of information often come together to reveal a bigger picture. The recent reporting on the Bristol nursery case is a painful reminder of that. Concerns were raised before the worker was finally stopped. I do not say that to alarm anyone. I would say it because safeguarding systems need to make it easy for people to act on what they notice early. Concern should not depend on someone finding the confidence or the opportunity to request a meeting, write an email, or knock on an office door. Let's look at 3 main barriers that stop practitioners from logging concerns and what you can do about them. I'll also show you how On the Button helps remove these barriers, because when it works well, your team grows more confident, children get better support, and you gain clearer oversight of what's happening in your setting. The first barrier is uncertainty. A practitioner might notice something that does not feel right, but is not sure whether it is serious enough to record. Maybe a child is quieter than usual, their behaviour has changed, or something just feels different. Your practitioners do notice these things. That's what good practitioners do. But then they start to second guess themselves. They wonder if they are overthinking it and decide to keep an eye on it. And too often, that is where it stops. Here is the problem. Safeguarding is not about waiting until you are certain. It is about noticing, recording, and staying alert. The NSPC guidance and learning from case reviews remind us that there is often not one single obvious sign. More often, smaller concerns build over time, building patterns for adults to see the bigger picture. So, small things should be logged. That is why On the Button was created for early years safeguarding. It gives staff a clear picture to record those small worries and low-level concerns, things that might not mean much alone, but could be an important point when combined with other information later. One concern by itself might not tell you much, but 3 concerns over 3 weeks from different staff members can reveal a lot. So keep the message to your team simple. If you notice something, record it. One of our customers calls these niggles and tells her team that if they are asking whether they should be writing it down, then they probably should have already done just that. Recording a concern is not about making an accusation or jumping to conclusions. It is just capturing what was seen, heard, or noticed, so it is not forgotten. The second barrier is complexity. If recording a concern takes too long, has too many steps, or feels like just filling out forms, busy practitioners will put it off. Not because they do not want to, but because they're surrounded by children, colleagues, routines, interruptions, and many other demands. The truth is, if something feels cumbersome, it often gets left undone. That's why the practical side matters. A safeguarding system should make it easier, not harder, to do the right thing. On the Button aims to make recording straightforward and manageable. Staff can log concerns quickly while details are still fresh, and settings can build on that information when it's needed. It's not about adding more work, it's about creating better visibility. And it's also about removing unnecessary hurdles. A staff member should not need to wait until they can find the manager, send a carefully worded email, or ask for a private meeting before they can raise a concern. If something is worrying them, they need a clear and immediate way to record it. That matters for day-to-day safeguarding, and it matters just as much for whistleblowing. Because sometimes the concern is not about a child in isolation. Sometimes it's about practice. Sometimes it's about culture. Sometimes it's about an adult. And in these moments, the route for speaking up needs to feel possible. First, you need the essential information: who's involved, what was noticed, when it happened, and what has been done so far. This alone could be the difference between capturing a concern and losing it. Once that information is in the system, it can be tracked, reviewed, and connected with other records if needed. That is when a clear picture starts to form. The third barrier is the feedback gap, which is the one people often overlook. If staff log concerns and never get any feedback, they start to wonder if anything is anybody reading them? They may feel their effort disappears into a black hole, and when that happens, reporting drops off. That's why feedback matters so much. People do not need every detail, every piece of confidential information they shouldn't have, but they do need to know what they logged was seen, taken seriously, and considered. When staff feel heard, they're more likely to keep speaking up. I often say that safeguarding is not just about recording, it's about building a culture where people know their observations matter. On the Button helps with this too, by giving leaders visibility. Concerns are not left on bits of paper in someone's memory or in a notebook only one person sees. They're all in one place where the right people can review and respond. That helps build trust in the process. That trust is crucial because the real goal is not fewer concerns being logged. In many cases, more logged concerns is actually a healthy sign. It means staff are alert, they're noticing things, they feel able to speak up. That is exactly the culture you want in an early years setting. The best settings do not see concern logging as creating problems. They see it as professional care. They understand that small observations matter, that patterns matter, and that protecting children depends on noticing what others might miss. That is where a system built for early years can make a real difference. On the Button was created to support settings with safeguarding while also considering the well-being of all concerned. And complaint management also in a way that fits the realities of early years practice. It helps teams record concerns, spot patterns, keep oversight and strengthens accountability while always remembering that this work is about children, families and staff. So if your team hesitates over what to record, if your process feels too slow, or if concerns are logged without clear follow-through, the problem may not be your people. It may be your system. All early years providers need gently and honestly to hold in mind the thought, it could happen here. Not in an alarmist way, but in a professional, curious and vigilant one. Because the moment we assume it could not happen in our setting is often the moment important things are missed. On the Button gives a simple system that everyone can use to help make sure concerns are noticed, recorded, reviewed and acted on. It helps settings do what good safeguarding always requires: stay alert, speak up early and keep sight of the bigger picture. So here's the question. Which barrier do you notice most in your own setting? Is it uncertainty? Is it complexity? Or is it the feedback gap? To see how On the Button helps early years settings remove those barriers, strengthen safeguarding practice, and make it easier for staff to speak up when something does not feel right, go to weareonthebutton.com and watch it working.